house has a second story on it, you have to build a flight of stairs. So we want to show you how to build a simple set of straight flight stairs, just like this one we have here in the small model. It's going to go right up here in this hole. It's called a stairwell. Now, to begin that process, you have to make a measurement. Hook your tape on the subfloor and measure down to the subfloor. It's 109 inches. It's really important to note that that measurement has to be from finished floor to finished floor. Now, we've got carpet throughout this building, so that measurement's going to work. But if you happen to have a real thick floor up there, and down here you had a thin floor, then you have to make some adjustments. There's a lot more about that in the book. Now, with that one measurement, 109 inches, we're able to calculate how many steps we need and how high each one of those steps or risers is going to be. Let me show you how we do that. To calculate the rise and the run of a set of stairs, we take the total rise from finished floor to finished floor. Here it's 109 inches. We divide that by 7. That's a standard riser height. That gives us 15.5. Well, you can't have a half a riser. So we divide 109 by 15 full risers, and that equals 7.26 or 7 1/4. Now, a common rule in order for a flight of stairs to be comfortable is that the rise plus the run should total between 17 and 18 inches. With our riser height at 7 1/4, a run of 10 inches, that gives us 17 1/4. That's right in the ballpark. Well, we know our rise and run, so we can set up our stair gauges on this framing square. Over here, 7 1/4 for the rise, and here, 10 inches for the run. This is the tool we use to lay out this stringer so we could cut out these notches. Now, you'll notice right here that this angle is not 90 degrees. We like to give it a 1-inch back cut right here, so this tread will be just a little bit wider. Now, down here at the bottom there's something really important. We call it dropping the stringer. What that means is that we have to cut off of the bottom of these stringers the thickness of this tread. Well, the tread is 3/4 of an inch thick, so we cut off these stringers 3/4 of an inch. Now that means that all of these risers will now be the same height. One last thing. We notched our stringers like this. That allows us to put in this 2x4. We call it a kicker. Once that kicker is nailed down, it keeps these stringers from slipping forward. I start layout from the bottom, marking the first tread and rise with a square. Then I need to mark for dropping the stringer. I make a line representing the floor, and then come up the thickness of a tread, 3/4 of an inch, and mark the cut line. Only this bottom riser needs to be shortened since it rests on the floor. I continue on up, marking out rise and run with a square, and I keep track of the number of risers as I go along. Now up here at the top I mark for the last tread, making it 1 inch wider than the rest. And square off the run from that point. You'll see why I do this in a few minutes. I've got a few more marks to lay out. Down here at the bottom, I come in 1 inch from the riser line I marked before, loosen my stair gauge, pivot the square to a new mark, and tighten the gauge. Now I can mark for the back cuts on each riser. But before I move too far, I also use a scrap of 2x4 to mark the notch for my kicker. And finally, I can saw everything out. I'm careful not only to mark accurately, but to cut accurately. That way I can use this stringer as a master template. You can see that on top here, I'm overcutting the intersection of my lines just enough so that the pieces will fall out. That way I don't need to come back with a handsaw to finish up. And to be efficient, I make all cuts running in one direction first, then turn, and work my way back. You can see how the cuts meet underneath here. The next thing I do is nail fences on the edge of the stringer. That'll help me to flesh it up with the other 2x12s, and I can use it as a template. Now you want to pick out good straight stock for your stringers. Boards free of any large loose knots. After marking, I cut the other 2 stringers the same way. Next I mark where the top of the stringers fall on the header. For the stairs in this house, I mark down 1 riser, 7 1/4 inches, from the bottom of the subfloor, and I draw a straight line. One way to support these stringers is by hanging them with these metal straps. Other ways to do this are shown in the book. Then I nail a block flush to the back side of the first stringer. It's just long enough to space the middle stringer dead center.
All right, hold on down a hair. Hold him right there.
Got it on the line?
Yeah.
All right. Holding the top of the stringer even with the line, Joe nails it in place. Then positions and nails the middle stringer. On the line?
No, it will be. Hold it right there.
I got her. 2/16 into the block and 1/8 through the strap. Now the last stringer, tight to the joist on the right. Then we measure and cut a second block to fit tightly between the 2 and nail it off. Down at the bottom, the kicker, cut to the width of the stairs, goes in. I flush it up tight against the wall, nail it into the floor. Center up the middle carriage and nail all the stringers down. It's time now to cut the treads and risers out of 3/4 stock. Here's one way to get a straight cut, by using a board as a cutting guide. You could, of course, use a table saw. And here's a riser being cut. I start at the bottom by nailing on the first riser with 8-penny nails. Once these stringers are nailed in, you need to check to make sure that none of them are bowed up or down. Take a look at here. This stringer is really high. So what we've done so far is nail in a riser board at the bottom to hold these stringers stable. But before nailing any other riser boards in, we want to catch this one. We want to make sure that these stringers are level all the way across. So we can nail it here on the outside edge. And Joe's going to help. Pull that center horse down so I can get this outside one nailed. I always choose straight stock, but when I was cutting this middle stringer, I could feel the tension release and it bowed. He's got it right on the money. Hold on, I want to get one more nail in that thing, Joe, to hold it down there. All right, that's got it. And now all I need to do is finish nailing off the risers. Now the treads. To prevent squeaks, you want to use construction adhesive on top of the stringers before you set the treads. That'll also strengthen the entire stair. You can either use nails or screws here. Just make sure to flush everything up first. Now there are different ways to nail on these treads. You'll notice that we cut ours flush here with the riser board. They're going to wrap carpet right up around that. But there is another way. You can let your tread hang over right here and you'll have a nosing. The last thing we need to do is nail in a 1-inch strip here at the top before we nail the last riser in place. You'll see why in a moment. Well, we're back here now on this model and I want to show you something. You'll remember that we cut this tread right here at the top 1 inch longer than the rest of them. Well, we did that for a reason. The reason is that we wanted this last riser here at the top to angle back, just like this one angles back. Well, it was easy to do. We nailed in this strip of 1x, then the riser board. Now, look at the way it angles back. So now, Every riser and every tread in this set of stairs are the same, all the way down. I've taught a lot of students, apprentice carpenters, how to build these simple set of stairs. And I think almost every one of them thought the stair building was really difficult. And then they tried it, and they found out this isn't so hard. All we have left to do to finish these stairs is nail on a few treads and risers.